Let's go to PyCharm and open controllers.py. I mentioned that it will be the viewer controller, this one that has the map view in it, that handles our form. However, this controller is already pretty lengthy, so I don't want to add all of our additional validation for the file upload logic here. So I'm just going to create sort of a helper controller right here, and we'll call it handle shapefile upload. And initially we'll just populate it with some logic that will grab the file that has been uploaded and print it so that we can verify that it happened quickly. And the way that you grab the file, it's in request.files, and you just give it the name from the form. So if you look at the form, it's this name parameter that you set on the file input. So just give it the name, and then we'll print that, and then we'll wire up viewer to call that function whenever it gets a file upload. So let me just add that logic. I'll just put it right, well, not right there. I'm going to put it right above the context. And what we're doing is checking first that we got a post request, and second, that we have files. If those two conditions are met, then we call our helper controller handle shapefile upload. And notice in the doc string for the handle shapefile upload, we noted that the return value is a string, and it will be an error string. This is meant to provide feedback to the users. So we are capturing that proactively. It will be empty by default. And what we need to do is pass that to the controller, or rather the template. Oops, thought I copied that. So that we can give that feedback to the user later on. We'll wire that up, or rather show it on the template once we have an error to work with. But for now, we'll just pass it to the template, anticipating that we'll need it in the future. So let's verify that our upload actually calls this function now. So we'll go here. I'm going to select the URL and press enter to refresh, so I don't get that annoying error or warning that I'm navigating away with form data. And choose a file, waterfall 8080, and upload it. And if I go to the terminal, you'll see it prints the name of that file to the terminal. So that's all working well. Next, we want to write the file out to a temporary location so that we can start to do some validation on it. So what we'll do is go back to the file, controllers file, and go to the top. We'll add a few imports that we'll need to do this. We'll need OS so that we can manipulate some paths, and we'll need temp file to create the temporary directory where we'll write it. Let's go back down, and we'll add the logic to actually write out the file. Because right now, the format it's in request.files is an in-memory object. So to use some of the libraries we want to check it, we need to have it written out as a file. Okay, so I'll just get rid of this print statement because we already verified it's working, and I'll add this new logic in. So we're using the temporary directory object provided by temp file to create a temporary directory, and we're putting it within this context so that when we exit it, it will remove it automatically. That way we don't get clutter built up from people using the app. What we're doing also is defining a path that's based on this tempter for the file that we're going to write. So this file doesn't exist yet, we're going to create it. We call it temp zip path. Then what we do is we open temp zip path for writing, and we use the chunks method to iterate through the chunks of the file that are in memory and write them to that file. Let's go ahead and try this out. It will print this path if it works. Open a file, and let's go look at the terminal. So it did write that out for us, which is nice. Let's go look for this folder. So I'll open up a file browser. I'll press Control L to get the address bar to come up so that I can type in /temp. And if you look through these folders here, you'll notice none of them have that name, tempzb4erj9n. And that's because it's temporary. So as soon as our code exited that with statement, it got rid of it, which is good. We don't want to deal with it if it's nothing that we want to keep. Okay? So we're just writing it here so that we can do our validation. Next, let's verify that it's a zip file. Let's go import the zip file module. And then go back down. And we're going to use an optimistic approach on this. Let me grab the code and we'll talk about it. It's optimistic in that we're going to assume that they gave us a zip file. So we will try and open it as a zip file, and then we'll try and extract it. And if it's not a zip file, then this bad zip file message will be raised. And what we'll do is go ahead and return a message to the user that says you must provide a zip archive containing a shapefile, which will come into play later on. But you must provide a zip archive.